Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Ilma Ihwani as the first presenter of my group. So right now we're going to present about nominalization and grammatical metaphor. Before we're going to definition what is grammatical metaphor, I want you to know what is a metaphor. Metaphor in traditional literary criticism, metaphors are distinguished from similes. A metaphor states that something is equivalent to another thing which is not usually associated with. A simile states that something is like another thing which is not associated with. For example, the man is a lion is a lexical metaphor, while the man is like a lion is a simile. And the other example from a lexical metaphor are a death metaphor. Only animate things can actually live or die. So, comfortable feet. Feet that don't have feelings, but their blood passes or does. Next is blood bank. Bank is a place where something valuable is kept. And now is the definition from what is grammatical metaphor. Grammatical metaphor is meaning constructed in a different way by means of a different grammatical construction. For example, is clause processed with participant and circumstance correct phrase. Like he drove the bus over rapidly downhill. He's over rapid downhill driving of the bus. The brakes failed. Brake failure. He is over rapid downhill driving of the bus caused brake failure. Well, next is about congruent versus metaphorical expression. Congruent, the literal as opposed to the metaphorical realization of meaning, the congruence between semantics and lexical grammar. Congruent forms reflect the typical ways that we construe experience. Metaphor implies a discrepancy between semantics and lexical grammar.
Hello, my name is Desita Nuriah. My student's number is 192122025. Experiential and logical metaphors. Congruent relationship between lexical grammar and semantics. Nouns are things or participants. Verbs are events or participants. Adjectives are properties or attributes, and epithets. And the next is nominalisation. The first is process coded as participants. The second is adjectivals, attributes coded as participants. The third is objectifying processes and attributes. And the last is encapsulations or condensation. This time her decision had cost her something. Decision is participants. Because she had decided something, she had to suffer the consequences. Decide is a mental process. His only sign of discomfort was the nervous trembling of his fingers that toyed with the button of his overcoat. Discomfort is entity and trembling is thing. The only thing that showed that he was uncomfortable was that his fingers were trembling nervously as they was toying with the button of his overcoat. Uncomfortable is attributes and trembling is behavioral process. The failure of corn cob made labor cheap. Failure is participant. The corn cob failed and so labor became cheap. Fail is process.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amin from class A. Now I want to explain about interpersonal metaphors. Modality metaphors. The modality feature can be dressed up as a preposition. In other words, projection is in full feed when modality is expressed metaphorically. The projecting clause in full feed usually has a word or preposition which signifies belief, likelihood, certainty, or other features which one connects with modality. For example, the first, I don't believe it can be profit by statistic. Can it or do it? That is mean it probably can't be profit by statistic. And the second example, he does not believe it can be profit by statistic. Does he or can it? And the third is, I should think there would be a better change, wouldn't there? And that is, there will probably be a better change. Another example, the first is, I'm sorry to have to say this to you. This meaning is, unfortunately, I have to say this to you. And the second, it is possible that the study of literature affects the conscience. And the third is, I find it likely that the study of literature affects is the conscience. The fourth is, there is evidence that the study of literature affects the conscience. The fifth is, you must take this course. And finally and last, the sixth, you are decreed to take this course. And then now, congruent relationship between and speech function. The first is interrogative, it means questions. And then the second is declarative, that is meaning is statement. And last is imperative, is command. Okay, in literary works, a rhetorical questions is quite often a metaphorical questions that serve the congruent function of making a declarative statement. For example, Shakespeare, shall I compare thee to a summer's day, can be congruent translate to a conditional declarative clause. If I compare a summer's day from sonnet number 18, shall I compare thee a summer's day? Or, thou art more lovely and more temperate. And then, rock winds do shake the darling buds of May. And last is, and summer leaves had all too short a day. Okay, the next presenter is Siti Dania. That's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aniisah Fidaariyah. I will explain about thematic equatives and predicate theme in textual metaphor. As I have explained at the previous presentation about theme and rhyme, thematic equatives is a thematic research in which two or more separate elements in a clause are grouped together to form a single constituent of the theme and rhyme structure. For example, all I did was ask around for drinks. Here, the grammatical point of departure is in bold text. It announces at the start to the listener or reader what the message will be about, the reader's or speaker's angel. I'm going to tell you all I did. The rest of the clause is in regular text. Second example is, what I did was ask them round for drinks. Here, the grammatical point of departure is in bold text. It announces at the start to the listener or reader what the message will be about, the reader's or speaker's angel. I'm going to tell you what I did. The rest of the clause is in regular text. The structure also applies to other examples. Next, predicate theme. The predication is aimed at emphasizing a constituent. The form of predicated theme can be seen by the use of dummy it in the clause. For example, it is the poor quality of their work that I'm worried about. The point of departure of the clause is the dummy it, and it wants to serve the poor quality of the workers as the news in the clause, in which if we make the clause as an ordinary clause, then The poor quality of their work serves as theme and given information in the clause and remains unemphatic. The predicated theme, by using the dummy it, has a function to help the writer to emphasize certain information. The function of dummy it in the predicate theme also applies to other examples. The last is metaphor in text. Here, word sage voices is participants. Second, word make that climb is processes. Third, word one great strength is attributes. And the last word demands is participants. That's all from me. The presentation will continue by Siti Sarah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Siti Dania Nabila. My student's number is 19212212. Here I am as the last presenter and I will continue the materials about example of metaphor in text. Hare's point is that we emerged from the Hitler were believing that England would soon flow with milk and honey, and instead we caught a flood of marketing men as against and city speculators. Plenty was promised, but by the time Hare's darting cinematic narrative has been reached mid-1962, what has mainly been delivered is blessed hope and thwarted dreams. Alright guys, all the words in parentheses are example of metaphor in text. Flow with milk and honey, flood, blessed hope, and thwarted dreams. Susan is a middle and a fragile, a conformist rebel and a descriptive idealist. Her war behind the lines left her longing for a nation fit for heroes. It also made her tricky and curious, a woman too restless and self-absorbed to create anything fair for anyone. Alright guys, a middle and a puzzle in text is a metaphor in text. The last example is all this as blanched to be spelted and assured bitter and breezy, crazily aggressive, and as when her tones have a motherhood, enter the emotional equation, oddly vulnerable and blanched give us to the load. Alright guys, all this ask and her tones have of motherhood are metaphor in text. I think that's all from us. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.